you ready? Because I have feelings.
Tell me all about them. I'm ready.
Oh, man. I saw a post from the Gentle Mama about all the things that boys can do and how they can bake and how they can wear pink and how they can wear flowers and how they can dance and how they, all the girly things that boys can do and still be boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, girly in quotes. And it just hit me so good. And it just brought up all of the things I've been dealing with since before my baby was born in the world of gendering.
Yeah.
And the thing that hit me this week, and it's hit me before in previous months, in previous sizes, but it hit me that his drawer was full of blue clothes. And, we're very lucky we don't have to buy our baby clothes right now because everybody is buying clothes for him, which is fantastic. But I have ended up buying him clothes a few different times because I want him to have things with flowers on them. And I want him to have things that are pink or purple or some other color, not green or brown or orange or blue, because those are the only ones that are allowed. And it makes me so sad because it's so emblematic of how in the water toxic masculinity is, that this tiny baby boy has to wear clothes with trucks on them. And I feel nervous talking about this because I don't want to seem ungrateful and I don't want to seem judgmental.
It's ingrained in us. It's subconscious, mostly.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it just makes me so nervous for him going out into the world.
Yeah.
And having to be a person with feelings who's not expected to have feelings and not supposed to have feelings. So, I wanted to talk today about toxic masculinity and the pervasiveness of it when it comes to baby stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the tiny things that will hopefully have an impact that I'm trying to do with my little baby boy.
I think they will.
Ooh, I knew I had feelings. I thought they were more angry than sad, but today I'm feeling sad about it.
Yeah.
So to hopefully maybe bring my tears down a little bit, I looked up a primer on toxic masculinity because I know it's a buzzword and people get annoyed by buzzwords, and I want to have some background for what that term means when we use it in this conversation and hopefully in other ones. But researchers that use the term toxic masculinity have given it 3 separate aspects. The first one is toughness, and that's the notion that men should be physically strong, emotionally callous, and behaviorally aggressive. Mm-hmm. So that's the first part of it. Anti-femininity, which is the one that's most pervasive in my baby's life right now, which is, this involves the idea that men should reject anything that is considered to be feminine. And the examples they give are showing emotion or accepting help. But this is, that's a much deeper version of anti-femininity than we encounter on a daily basis, which is that girls can wear pants, and that's fine, but boys can't wear skirts because skirts are feminine and feminine is bad, or feminine is less than masculine. Masculine is normal, feminine is marked in sociological terms. So feminine is the different one, whereas masculine is normal. Mm-hmm. And so that's everything, right? Like floral shirts and pink pants. And the third aspect of toxic masculinity is power. And that's the assumption that men must work toward obtaining power and status, both social and financial, so that they can gain the respect of others. So there's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
And we often, or at least I have often heard about toxic masculinity in terms of the harm that it does to our society,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of violence and abuse and neglect that men perpetrate toward others as a result of this socialization and the societal norms and expectations, and then the harm that that does to them internally, which is often externalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because men in our society are so often the perpetrators of violence and the perpetrators of oppression, we don't think about the harm that it has on the men.
Yeah.
And we also often don't think about, or at least I haven't heard it talked about as much, the expectations of women that buy into the ideals of toxic masculinity around the men in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why all the blue clothes made me so sad.
Yeah.
Because it's so in the water of our society.
Yeah.
And it was around before my baby was born. We didn't find out the gender of our baby before they were born because I didn't want to have conversations about what he or she, which are the only two options, would be like.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were a he or a she.
Mm-hmm.
And we did have those conversations anyway. I think we probably would have had more of them if we knew the gender of the baby. Maybe it would have been an opportunity, but I was too emotionally charged at that point to have those conversations in a complex way, I think, because I felt so protective of whoever was inside of me and their experience as a socially gendered man or woman, a boy or girl, especially as a child, because we feel so much power over children to tell them what they should be and what they should do and what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. We, the adults in their life, are how they get socialized,
Mm-hmm.
for good or ill. So that's what's on my mind this week and has been on my mind for a long time.
Oof.
So I dyed some shirts pink. And I ordered floral leggings. I posted this on our Instagram. And it just wasn't enough. I need to talk more about it.
Yeah. This topic was on our list from the beginning when we made our initial topic list.
Yeah, it's something that I thought about a lot when I was pregnant. And, you know, I'm raising a white male, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bad guys of society.
So many air quotes in this episode.
There's a lot of air quotes. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm being very glib and just throwing things out there. But yeah, I want to do it right. Just starting there.
Yeah.
So that's already a big
Heavy.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know that I won't do it perfectly. And on a good day, I'm totally fine with that. And I know that I'm not the only influence in his life. But I do know that our house, and by our house I mean our unit, our family unit, will be the biggest influence in his life.
Yeah.
And I think my goal is to offer him the glasses to see the influences outside of our house and the possibility that he knows inside of himself more than what somebody is telling him.
Yeah.
In terms of who he is and in terms of what he's quote unquote allowed to do, especially in this context as a boy and then eventually as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And what's important, and is it important to be strong or is it important to be vulnerable? You know, all this stuff around shame. And there's so much shame
Mm-hmm.
as a part of toxic masculinity. That's basically what drives it. Anything less than the ideal of manliness is a failing and is shameful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I could talk for days about how it affects women, and maybe it was a failing in empathy, but I didn't really think before as much. I did think about it, but I didn't think as much about how it affected children,
Mm-hmm.
specifically male children.
Mm-hmm.
Any impact that, I mean, there's studies, right? We treat baby boy infants with less empathy and gentleness than we do baby girl infants.
Yeah.
And that's their mothers and their fathers and their primary caregivers, but like the people who we would want to be able to see them the most, to be able to see them and understand their whole humanness the most.
Yeah. Crazy, right? That's how strong this conditioning is.
And I do it too.
Yes.
And I think about it, and I hopefully don't do it as much as I would have if I didn't think about it. But it's in there, and it's not going anywhere. It's in the air. It's in the water. Yeah.
Yeah. It's another one of those things that is just work all the time, and this difficult balance of accepting the way that it is and working towards it being different. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So like not shaming yourself for realizing that you are doing it, that it's in your water too, and working towards how you want it to be and doing what you can for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're on our way. It's a slower process than we would like it to be.
Yeah.
Which is why I try to always remind myself of we're on our way. As long as we're moving, that's okay.
It is. It is okay.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's heavy.
Yeah. And it's situational, right? So whether or not I'm going to say something to someone about it or say something to him about it, and I'm learning a lot right now about following up a situation with conversations with your child. So all the people in our lives that love our baby don't have this top of mind the way that I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very blanket statement, but I'll just leave it at that for now. So obviously things are going to happen, whether they be at school or with family members or with friends of ours or in the world where all of this is in the water. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking for right now is advice on and information about having follow-up conversations with your child on, oh, this happened. What did you think about that? How did you feel about that comment or that thing that they wanted to do? Or, following up a situation where I was uncomfortable with what was being pushed on whoever was in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking hypothetically about that is difficult, finding words that would fit multiple situations. But yeah, following up a difficult situation with a conversation about the implications and how to do that in a developmentally appropriate way and how to do that in an emotionally appropriate way.
Mm-hmm.
And without shame.
Yeah, I was about to say that, like, it's still being considerate to everyone involved.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be hard for me because it's going to make me mad.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make me really mad. That's also part of what's so charged about this for me, is I'm not totally sure how to deal with it because it's internal, it's external, it's in the water, it's everywhere, and it's a complicated, big topic.
Yeah.
And I think kids have more ability to handle those topics than we give them credit for, but I also probably the bottom line is I'm just going to mess up a bunch and then it'll be fine in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't want to say it's starting because she been started.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around the whole time. But the more I encounter it, the more I want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, seeing that post this week and then having the experience of figuring out his clothing situation. Because it's not that I want to dress him up like a girl. Like, And
what does that even mean? I
Right.
was waiting for you to say it. Yep.
I don't want to. So when I was pregnant, you and I had talked about this a little bit. I was like, well, maybe we just raise them without a gender. Maybe we just raise them without a gender. And that is a perfectly valid option. And I know people that are doing that, and I'm not there yet. And I considered the fact that, well, maybe that wouldn't be the most helpful to my child.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be very demonstrative. And I think if we had them at home for a really long time, I would feel more comfortable doing that. But I knew that they were going to be in daycare and preschool and school outside the home. I knew that they were going to be in situations where there'd be a lot of social pressure, and focusing all of that social pressure on the fact that they weren't gendered, or that we were doing something weird and crazy, that their parents were doing something dumb, and that the child should be told what they are,
Mm-hmm.
like I felt that would come up a bunch, and
Yeah.
I just didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want them to have to deal with that. So we decided to go with whatever they were assigned at birth,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be easier for me to buy him a dress if we had done it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't need to buy him a dress. I feel like, again, that's making decisions for him. Maybe it's not. Maybe I think that's making decisions for him because dresses are feminine and toxic masculinity is in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's complicated.
Yeah, I've been having a similar thought process.
Where are you at in that thought process?
I think I was with the raising them non-gender idea for a little bit longer than you were, and I'm currently at the point similar to what you just said, that I thought, well, with that I am putting a label on them just as much as a he or she, like a they pronoun is also a pronoun just as much as a he or she pronoun is, and I'm putting pressures and assumptions and complications and all those things on them just as much, and yes, probably even more, than if I go with the assigned gender. And so like with the assigned gender, I deal with the bias. With the non-gender, I deal with the, oh my God, this is so different, and let's go with wrong and crazy. All of it brings work and frustration and all of the feelings.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
So as of right now, I still like the idea of a name that is neutral.
Mm.
So at least if they identify with a different gender as assigned at birth, they at least don't have to change the name, assuming they like it. I mean, they can change their name if they do identify with their assigned gender. It's like, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But we're already having trouble with names, so I don't know if that's gonna... We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's where I'm at, going with the assigned pronoun, with the pronoun that goes with the assigned gender at birth, but trying to find a neutral name, gender neutral name. And then what you're doing, try as hard as I can to work against the biases and raise them gender neutral without, how do
I don't know that that's possible, but I think raising them with awareness of the options.
Yes, that.
And that they
Thank
have
you.
options.
Yeah. So like with all the colors and all the clothes and all the toys and all the hobbies and whatever.
That they have
They
options
wanna do.
available, that other people have those same options, and whatever they choose doesn't determine their worth.
Yeah. And I want to pay really close attention to them from the start if I get the feeling that they maybe don't identify with their biological gender or any gender at all, or a sexuality that is not heterosexual.
Yeah,
Because
I hear that.
we, like, heterosexuality is the normal. We assume that. And anyone that is not has to come out. That's another thing that I would like to just throw over and, like, can we just make everyone come out and everyone introduce themselves with their pronouns, and then, like, that's utopia, right?
I don't know. I feel like there are certain places where that's normal now. And there's obviously plenty of places where it's not. But I don't think that it's unreachable utopia.
Oh, no. For me, utopia is a direction. It's not.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I think, well, now I don't know what I think.
Same.
That's fair. Yeah. I think what I'm trying to do, and I would love input on this, so if you have any input, let me know, is exposure. And it's come to me in this conversation that, like, I'm here showing my cis white privilege, that when I talk about other people to him that I don't know, I should be using they. And I'll think more about that, but I think that's probably what I'm going to try to do. And just, in terms of books and people and, like you said, toys and clothes and all the things, just creating the expectation that there are options rather than the expectation that because you are this, you get this. Because you are this, you get that. And other people that are that, they get that other thing. And never the twain shall meet, or only in one direction. We have such a network of value in our brains when it comes to gender and sexuality and all the things, right?
Yeah.
But if we're talking about relative masculinity, right? Like there's a range of masculinity within men, and there's a hierarchy throughout that range.
Yeah.
And then, slightly below that, but kind of overlapping, there's a range of masculinity in women. That goes much further down because there's a hierarchy in that as well. And this is why, or this is, I think, part of the reason that, like, masculine presenting women, more women that take on more traits or aspects of their life and personality presentation that are more masculine, aren't seen quite as subversive as men that take on feminine presentation or aspects of feminine presentation. Because why would you take on feminine presentation if you're a man and you already have this level in society that's, and this is why feminism is for everyone.
Yes.
Because boys should be allowed to wear skirts if they want to.
And dance and cry and...
Oh my God, and cry. So that's the big thing, right? And this is where you mentioned emotion coaching. This is where emotion coaching, I think, is a big deal for everyone and plays hugely into this process of what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach our children how to have emotions and how to deal with that as humans. And it's so exciting that that's for all children and isn't, 99% of the time when you're talking about emotion coaching, you don't even mention the gender of the child.
Yeah.
It's not thought of as an issue. And of course, in the implementation of emotion coaching, it surely plays a factor because we more easily recognize emotions in girls, or more easily empathize with emotions in little girls than we do with emotions in little boys. And I think if you're used to this practice, that can be minimized, right? If you're used to the practice of emotion coaching, that can definitely be minimized. But yeah. Sorry, I feel like I just went on a rant at you, and I haven't let you participate.
No, I liked it. I just now was wondering, okay, she prefaced this with wanting input. I didn't catch where she wanted my input. That's all I was thinking right now.
I got lost.
I liked everything of what you said.
I did want it. I want like, how do we do it? That's what I want input on. How do I do this?
I think we do it in the way that you're doing it.
Yeah, we do it imperfectly. I just want to fix. I want the answer.
I know, and that's a Megan
and
thing.
I want to fix everybody else around my child so that they don't hurt him. And
oh yes, oh my God, there's so much work I need to do on that. So much letting go I need to do around that. I have so many fears around that, and so many, what you just said. I want, like, so many rules I want to set up of people can, like, to the extent of people will not be allowed to interact with my child if they don't follow these rules in order not to hurt my child. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's my load.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, the answer to that is letting go.
Yes.
And the comfort on that front, and my mom gave me this at one point when I was really just feeling protective and feeling nervous.
Mm-hmm.
It is really, really true and really, really evident and evidence-based that your impact on your child is going to be so much bigger than anyone else in their life. Yeah. And you're the plural you're, right? Like Hunter and I.
Mm-hmm.
And that does give me a lot of comfort. It's still very frustrating. And I'll say this, like, the people in my son's life are freaking lovely. I adore all of them. Like, sincerely, they're really important to me. It's really important to me that he has relationships with those people. It's really important to me that he really get to know them and spend time with them individually.
Mm-hmm.
And I have all of these feelings of protectiveness.
Yeah.
Probably because I know that I don't do it perfectly. Even if I don't do it perfectly, then they definitely don't do it perfectly, So there's a whole lot of nonsense in there, and things that are emotionally motivated by some sort of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a process, and it comes in waves.
Yeah. I share all of those fears, and I do deeply believe in what your mom said, that if we give them a base of, like, they know they can come back with it anytime, with everything, and know they're going to be heard and seen and loved no matter what, and be themselves, then they will do that. And then that's everything they need to deal with the outside world, outside of your house.
And hopefully the inside world.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm not going to do it perfectly.
Nope.
And we're not going to do it perfectly. And hopefully showing him that we are imperfect, that he's allowed to be imperfect.
Yes.
And that everybody else is imperfect and allowed to be imperfect. And they're still perfectly lovable.
Yep.
And we are still perfectly lovable. And he is still perfectly lovable. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you added
That's the
that.
end goal.
I was about to say, imagine how awful it would be to do it perfectly. That's a whole nother level of messing them up. So
Woo. Yeah. That's a very good point.
So let's do the best we can.
Yeah.
Beautifully and perfectly.
Yeah. And let him wear flowers.
One of my favorite pieces of clothing that he has is that body that's, I don't know if it's white or off-white, and it has like, I don't know if it's roses, like red
Oh, I know he
flowers
grew
on it.
out of that. I was trying to find a picture of him in that actually for our Instagram post, and I couldn't find one. But he's grown out of it.
I loved him in that.
I know. That's one that I bought. I only buy him feminine clothing because the rest of it is covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rest of it is covered. And I love the rest of it too. And if he wants to wear clothes with trucks on them, more power to him.
You just want him to have the options. The exposure,
I want him
like
to have
you
options.
said before, the exposure to everything. So he actually does freely pick
Mm-hmm.
because he has had the options.
Yeah,
the
and
exposure.
it's funny because it comes up against my, I'll call it frugality.
Yeah.
I'm almost a little bit cheap, but it comes up against my frugality, and it also comes up against my, like, he doesn't need anything more.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a balance of, he's got lots of clothes and he can wear them, and it's really important to me that he recognize that he doesn't have to wear blue all the time.
Yeah.
Because he's a boy.
So now I'm wondering, should I open another can of worms? Should I ask this question? We're over
Let me
time.
see where we're at. So yeah, I think save the can of worms for next time.
Good.
And we'll dive right on deep into it. Ew, that's gross.
Into the can of worms.
No, thank you.
Right. And with that, have a great week, everyone.
Have a lovely week.
Thank you for listening.
If you made it to Can of Worms, we apologize and thank you.
We very much hope you'll be back next week. Oh, tell us, please, 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 go
How do we do
to our
it?
Instagram and tell us in the comments your thoughts about all of this. Thank you. Goodbye.
See you there, Janine.
Bye.
Bye.